So I figured I'd do a video showing off some military knives. I'm not a dedicated military knife collector. I collect a lot of general military, but when I do see combat knives, stuff like that, I pick it up. And this is stuff that's been found in the wild, garage sales, thrift stores, things like that. So I figured I would show off some different stuff. I'm not an expert on any of this, so let's look through. This first one here is a Cutmaster, Utica, New York. It's a pretty sweet looking knife. It might have been filed down, I'm not sure. But anytime you have like the leather bands, then generally you're looking at like a military style knife or a hunting knife. This is a K-Bar USMC. I have a hard time telling if K-Bars are old or new. This kind of looks like an older one. Not sure how old, if it's World War II or not, but if you guys know a way to tell the difference between a vintage K-Bar and a new one, well, obviously the new ones are a lot nicer, perfect, but another K-Bar. This one is not a military knife. It says Japan on the side. Most of this could be a Japanese military knife, but they would generally have some sort of Japanese writing on it. They wouldn't spell Japan in English. So anyways, I'll set that over. I do not believe that's military at all. USM8 H. Boker and Company. This is a pretty freaking cool looking knife. Not sure, yeah, it's missing a leather band. That always sucks, but what can you do? This one's in a K-Bar sheath, but it says Cattaraugus 2250, and it does look like it's probably a combat knife the way it's built. Pretty freaking sweet looking knife though. I don't like clean them or anything. I just, when I get them, I pretty much just keep them the way I find them. I don't do any restorations or anything. I believe this one is a pilot survival knife with these two holes in it, but it's Camillus, New York, and this is most definitely a military knife. Usually they have a date somewhere on these. Like I've seen them up here before, and I've seen them down here on the little nut, but I'm not seeing it. Probably World War II or Korea, Vietnam era. I think that they use these ones in Vietnam. some sort of Mauser. This is a German Mauser. It's like a Kar 98. And absolutely beautiful blade. It's like perfect condition. I don't even really like handling it. Probably wipe this one down a little bit. But it's marked S175G. And the other side has a serial number 8021C. But I believe that's a World War II Kar 98 bayonet. I think that there's another one of them too. Let's see, maybe this. Nope, this is a I don't know what that writing is. Yugoslavian, probably. Yugo bayonet. That would be my guess. Marked 44. Nothing really special on that one. It is a very nice blade. I don't think it's ever really been used. It's like perfect shape. Now I believe this one's been cut down. I'm not certain, but I believe this may be off of M1 Garand. But the blade is Cutmaster, Utica, New York. Pretty freaking cool bayonet. But yeah, I believe it was probably about this long, and the tip probably broke. Happens a lot, and then someone either during the war or after, they'll change the profile of the blade so that they can still use it as a knife. A lot of times knives were used as screwdrivers. It was like a multi-tool. A lot of times if you needed to pound a steak into the ground, you would just use the butt of your knife. And this one is I believe this one's a Spanish Setme. I don't know, they're very common bayonets, and I do see them quite often. This one's in like perfect shape. They kind of look like crap right from the factory, so I mean, but this is a pretty good example. They have like a weird, like a nasty phosphate finish on those. I'm going to talk about these blades here pretty much all at the same time. This is a Ka-Bar 1205 US. I'm not sure if the military ever used colored bands on their handles, but I know they didn't during World War II. So if you have a military knife and it has these colored bands, I believe that means it's like Korea or later. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's what I've been told. This one's a Ka-Bar 1205. Not in the greatest condition, but still a pretty cool looking knife. This one is a PAL RH51. Very common knife. I don't know if these things ever were used in the military. I believe they were, but I'm not 100% certain. And this one is a Remington RH51. So these two knives are the exact same. This one is PAL, and this one is Remington. But kind of cool. Wonder if that's for that one. Nope. Huh. Well, anyways, this one is a U.S. Camillus, New York. This most definitely is a combat knife. I'm not sure if this one's World War II. Possibly could be older, pre-World War II. I'm not sure, but it's a pretty freaking cool looking knife. I don't think it's been tampered with. The bands are still tight, even though they're swollen and not in the greatest condition. That's a freaking cool looking knife. Jesus. Here's another German Kar 98 Mauser. And this has 43 CUL, or that's what it looks like. Great condition as well. I like when you can find things like this for a decent deal at a garage sale. I like preserving this type of stuff. I like collecting it, sharing it with other people. But man, if you went on eBay and you bought all of these knives, you'd pay a fortune for them. Both of these knives are the same. They're 8K bayonets. I've been told that the simple black handle ones are off of Polytex Norinco's. Not 100% certain on that, but just kind of weird that it doesn't have any type of marking on it. But they are very nice looking bayonets. And the reason why I do believe they probably are Norinco is you can see the grain on the knife. And Norinco, anything that they produce, they have a real fine grain on their steel. So I do believe that probably is Norinco. Alright, now this knife here is freaking cool. I believe this one is a combat knife as well. What is neat about this one is it has a Bakelite tip right here. When I first seen this knife, I knew it was something special. I've never seen that with Bakelite before, but I would think a military would probably do that to lighten it, make it a lighter overall knife. On this side it's ground, but I believe it was a Western, or is a Western. And remember when I was saying a lot of times military knives, they used it as a hammer, things like that. This being made out of Bakelite, it probably hasn't endured very much abuse. I'm sure that there are a lot of these out there where the Bakelite is just busted or broken from age. But that is a pretty freaking cool knife. I didn't even know these existed, but when I seen it, I knew I had to have it, because that is, it's just different. Now this one, I'm not sure if this is a military knife, but needless to say, it is a very weird knife in general. It may have been handmade, but it has that it has leather bands in there, and it has a mixture of black and brown leather bands, and it says Semper Idem, which I believe means always the same. And then R.J. Vanek. I don't know if that's the person that made the knife or whatever. But, looking at this, I believe it even might be a sword that was cut down. Or maybe even a lawnmower blade. Who knows? Like, you see this right here? That might be a lawnmower blade. Either way, I seen this knife at a garage sale, and they only wanted like $1 or $2, and so I had to have it. Like this sheath right here, that thing is a beast, and yeah, I don't know if you guys know anything about this knife. Let me know. Either way, I think it's freaking awesome. I believe this is a SKS bayonet. Really nothing special there. Mosin Nagant bayonet. You know, once again, not very special, very common. There's millions of those out. Here we have one that I just recently picked up. This one is made by Diston, D-I-S-S-T-O-N. It's marked US 1943 machete. You know, pretty rough condition, but World War II, my favorite time in history to research. You know, those were just absolute crazy times. And to think, you know, in another 80 years, people will be reading about us in history books. You know, I wonder how that history will read. Well, anyways, this one is a pretty freaking cool bayonet. This is a Japanese, I believe it's called Nagoya, but it's off of a Arisaka rifle. And this is a pretty nice looking knife, very long blades. You know, I definitely wouldn't want to be on the other end of this knife. And you know, Japanese stuff is very collectible. The thing is, you know, I don't ever run across Japanese items, and when I do, I have to buy them. But anyways, very cool knife to find with the sheath. I was happy as hell when I found that one. And oh, and that thing was attached to a bayonet holder when I got it. Alright, here we have a US pocket knife. It's Imperial, marked 1974. Nothing really special. They made these many different years, many different manufacturers, I believe. This one's a Camillus, 1969. These are all in really great shape. Like, when I could find these knives, I always pick them up. Let's see, this one, Imperial, 1976. So that one's a 74, this one's a 76. That would make that the end of Vietnam, I believe. Camillus, 1983. So we have a 69.